End of vegan gains. Okay, so I just want to make this video. This is my 2 cents. This is my reaction to the ongoing arguments between vegan gains and Chris Kruger and the multi-hour videos, the multiple multi-hour videos they made against each other, where basically Chris Kruger is saying, I've shown vegan gains is completely wrong about LDL, which has nothing to do with cardiovascular risk, and I'm going to prove it and drive him off the internet. And vegan gains with his constantly referring to the this MESA study of healthy individuals that generally didn't have the cardiovascular risk like diabetes and obesity and whatever else. A healthy population where that still showed, I think that 40 or more than, either 40 or 60% of these people in this healthy population still had early signs of cardiovascular disease. I think they used a CAC score and a CIMT scan to show that there were people either had a non-zero CAC score or multiple vascular sites showing early stages of cardiovascular disease. So anyway, here, and then Bart Kay gets involved, and he is insane, and he's saying that there's not even an association between LDL and cardiovascular disease, let alone any causal relationship. And so here, let me just show you. This is the iconic vegan gains image of the key graph from that study, which is broken down the x-axis by LDL, and then within each group of study participants with that LDL score, it shows people above the waterline, below the waterline that have early stages of cardiovascular disease. And so so the red is all clear, and the blue is really bad. And he's showing you, look, there's an association, so you have to drive, anyone that you really ought to drive your LDL to 70 milligrams per deciliter or low, or below. Okay, and he believes that, and he just constantly refers to this graph. Where Chris Kruger goes, oh yeah, whatever. At least, well, generally about half these people in the study didn't have any, early signs of cardiovascular disease. No CAC, no CIMT. So he presents this, his own. I think he made this himself. His own side-by-side histograms. Where the guys in the blue here are all clear. Zero CAC, zero CIMT. And then the guys in the red have, non-zero CAC or one or more vascular sites. And so his point is, look, I'm going to side-by-side histograms, overlay is basically an overlay of the histograms. There's no difference between the all-clear population and the atherosclerotic population. And they've all basically have the same distribution of LDL, right? Yeah, And so, so you have this argument. It looks like, oh my God, somebody's wrong. Yeah, okay. I'm going to tell you that, both these guys are taking extreme views, or I don't know, on both sides, because the low carbers will constantly tell you there's no problem. Saturated fat, eat meat. Saturated fat, even if it does raise your LDL, it has nothing to do with heart disease. And then on the other hand, vegan gain says, nope, don't eat any meat because saturated fat raises your serum cholesterol level, and you got to have it below 70 or below is optimal. So optimal not to eat meat versus it doesn't matter. Okay, so so the truth might lie in between here somewhere. Let me just show you really quick what we have here, the way I look at it as a slightly vegan individual. Okay, so I just go online and run my, there's a whole bunch of calculators online that take, there's more important things than just your LDL, okay? Your age is probably the most important thing. And if you're male, if you're an older male like I am, you're in trouble, right? Because those are the biggest risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Okay, then I'm going to put in my blood pressure. Mine's pretty good. And then here's my lipid panel, okay? It's not bad. It used to be lower when I ate mostly vegan, But then I went YOLO and just started eating ribeyes, sour cream, butter, cheese, whatnot. Doesn't matter. I mean, I still eat pretty much whole foods, but I eat saturated fat. Okay, so my LDL went up from what used to be 93, now it's 105. My HDL went up, which is a good thing. We'll get into that later. My HDL went up from, I forget, mine was around low 50s, and then it went up to 85. Okay, my total cholesterol went up. I think it was below 200 before when I was near vegan. Now it went up above 200. Okay, so I put in all this data, and boom, it tells me that my 10-year risk for cardiovascular disease is only 2.6%. And they tell you that optimal is 2.7, which means I don't think, you're not going to get it to be zero, okay, not at my age. And then the lifetime risk, this is something Vegan Gains always screams about. He goes, okay, well, look, oh yeah, okay, yeah, your risk here might be low, but over a lifetime, you're going to die. So I'm not going to get into all that. All right, so let me get into, let me show you quick. Framingham is another risk calculator, and look, it lays it all out here for you. It breaks it down by, sex and age. And if you read through these things, like basically you add up all the points for all these factors, and the lower your score, the lower your risk is. And I'll tell you right now, the most important thing is age. Then the second most important thing is probably if you're a smoker. And then everything else is, little plus or minuses here for total cholesterol, HDL. If you get high HDL, it's good. There's the 3-point swing here. Okay, that's Framingham. So there's a whole bunch of other calculators out there. Let me get into CAC score a little bit. So CAC score, so again, this is something that comes up all the time. The low carbers will tell you, wow, my CAC score is 0. And then Vegan Gains will tell you, oh, 0 CAC score is meaningless because half the people your age have 0 CAC scores. So that's meaningless. And okay, so what you'll find, I don't know if I have a great graph here, but you can find there's plenty of studies that I've looked at the follow-up, cardiovascular events, I don't know, over a 10-year span or something like that for people. So it takes in the two dimensions, one of them being LDL, the other one being CAC. So if you have a 0 CAC score, your risk as a function of LDL, your cardiovascular risk as a function of LDL is pretty low and pretty flat probably. Whereas if you had a high CAC score, then your risk is severely raised and it's a bigger function of LDL. I don't have the greatest graph right here. I'm not going to go over this, but look it up if you want to. It's stratification of cardiovascular risk by CAC score. All right, so let me show you something else here. All right, so this is an article, and this is an article that's that reflects a general understanding of the multivariable nature of cardiovascular risk and including HDL. So this is the key plot from that study, and there's nothing new. The study was really, I think, mostly intending to show that ApoB is a better predictor than just LDL of cardiovascular risk, and they do a good job. So they do, if you wanted to, there's a whole bunch of other breakdowns. I mean, that's the majority of the paper explains that. How ApoB is just a direct count of your atherosclerotic particle count. So it's better than LDLP, and it's better than LDLC with just the cholesterol count. Okay, anyway, what I want to get into here, let's just do this really quick, is that So what do you have here is a two-dimensional plot. My point is I want to bring in this HDL ratio. Now, the medical science looks at the total cholesterol over HDL ratio. Okay, then the crazy low carbers always are quoting triglycerides to HDL ratio, and I don't even know if there's any papers that talk about that. They're pulling that out of I don't know where. But medical science looks at the total cholesterol over HDL ratio, and that is very important, as we just saw. Um, it's definitely clearly a function, or it's clearly a parameter in the Framingham and the American Cardiovascular Association. The other two calculators I showed you definitely looked at HDL and total cholesterol. And anyway, the right way to do it is to take the ratio. And so if you take a look, so these guys graph the cardiovascular hazard risk as a two-dimensional function of the ratio, that HDL ratio, and ApoB. And I think I just told you ApoB is better than LDL, but it's similar to it's highly correlated with LDL. Okay, so you look at it, and right here in the left corner, this is the combination of low ApoB and low ratio, right? Low is good, or okay. So low has got the reference hazard ratio of 1. Okay, and then, what's bad? High. High is bad. I think that thing says 9.4, which is ridiculous. So this breakdown, which is pretty detailed, shows you, yeah, you don't want high ApoB and a high ratio. In other words, low HDL, the combination of low HDL and high LDL, bad news. Look at that, huge. Does that really say 9.4? It's huge. Or maybe it's 5.4. I can't read it. It's huge. But interestingly enough, look what the best combination is. Oh my God, the low carbers are right about something. Because your best ratio, or your best, the lowest risk people here are people actually with high ApoB, high LDL, but with in combination with a high HDL ratio, high HDL. And low total cholesterol to HDL ratio. So yeah, look, so this group here, the high ApoB, the high LDL people, are half as likely to get heart attacks as the lows, which is generally what people try for. So so the high ApoB and low ratio is shows you the lowest risk here. So anyway, so all right. So in summary, all these endless hours of arguments that people have over, so all those endless arguments people have over between the low carbers and the vegans over LDL, it really needs to be taken into, context of your all your parameters, and so just narrowing it down to, pointing at your favorite marker. So the vegan's favorite marker is LDL, because LDL is low if you're on a vegan diet. And then the favorite markers for the low carbers are HDL and triglycerides, because HDLs go up and triglycerides go down. Those are the good directions on their keto diet, right? So both sides are just taking their favorite view, their favorite parameter, and not looking at the totality of stuff, not looking at what medical science says, not looking at what your doctor will tell you. And then no one's going to back down. You just get hours and hours of arguments on Joe Rogan between Chris Kresser and Joel Kahn over these things. Everyone's dancing around. It's just the real issues, right? What your doctor will tell you, which is normal science and not controversial. But yeah, sure, I understand how it's confusing, because in general, the population just hears things like saturated fat is bad. And it's because the general population just also has a very short attention span. So either they're not going to understand if you try to tell them, or they're not going to listen, or nobody tries to tell them. But I think in the back, I think people kind of know HDL is the good HDL is the good cholesterol. So anyway, the details are it's not the cholesterol, it's actually the lipoproteins, and then ApoB is better than LDLP, and oh, did you counter LP little a? Yeah, okay, fine. Just if you have those issues, look into it. Just listen to your doctor. It's not controversial. All right. Anyway, I think I'm going to end it. So thanks for listening.